My name is Michelle Dyer, and I just have to note I am not a financial advisor. Please consult one. And the views expressed here are strictly my own and do not reflect my employer. Investments. This is my favorite part. So the FDIC is an independent agency of the government that will basically insure your deposits up to $250,000 in certain financial institutions. Like if you have $100,000 in Bank of America and Bank of America goes under, in theory, the FDIC insures those deposits. NCUA is the same thing for credit unions. So if you see FDIC insured, that is what you see. Now, the FDIC does not insure stocks or equities, money that you have at a brokerage account. So there are only specific accounts that are FDIC insured. So a risky investment is a stock or an equity. You can buy a share of that company and you're owning a piece of that company. So for certain companies like Apple, they have a dividend, which means quarterly they pay out a percentage of their profits to all their shareholders, everyone who owns a share of stock in their company. So say you buy a share of Apple when it's $150. Even if the price of Apple stays at $150 for the full year, you still get dividends each time they have a dividend distribution. Now that dividend can go back into your brokerage account, or you can get a check mailed to you and deposit that check. But you buy stocks in brokerage accounts. Now there's TD Ameritrade or Schwab, or I think Ally has brokerage accounts as well. Point being, you buy shares of stocks, also called equities, in brokerage accounts. And companies like Apple, who have a dividend, are a great option because you can make money two ways. You can hold the stock, and the goal is to keep that stock and have that investment grow and grow and grow and grow. So eventually you can sell it if you want, or you can just keep the investment and just collect the dividends 4 times a year. So definitely check out companies who have a dividend. Companies in the Dow, which are a group of 30 stocks, are great to look into as well. Most of the time, those companies have pretty solid earnings over the past 5 years. Go to Yahoo Finance and put in the ticker, the letters that associate with that stock, like Apple, AAPL. And you can do some research on the past performance of the stock. You always hear past performance is not an indicator of future performance. So just realize things can happen along the way. Apple recently said that they would stop reporting on the specific devices, on how much they sold of each item. So when you're investing in stocks and you buy, again, Apple at $150, Apple could go down to zero and you could lose all that money. Now look at past performance. Again, past performance isn't an indicator of future performance. Just know that stocks can be a more risky investment. I highly recommend checking out The Wealthy Investor, Tyrone Jackson. He has a podcast and he has a program that you can go online and learn about his system of investing, which I highly recommend, even if you just listen to the podcast, and which is completely free, and just get into his mindset and understand where he's coming from. I think it is incredibly valuable. So Tyrone Jackson, he actually started out as an actor, and it used to be The Wealthy Artist, and he moved it to The Wealthy Investor because he used to be an actor. Bonds. Bonds are another type of investment. So with a bond, you are loaning them money and they guarantee it back to you with some interest. So say it's a municipal bond. That city is using your money and will return it to you in a set amount of years with the principal, the initial investment, and interest. Bonds were huge during the war effort. You can definitely still buy bonds today. Corporations, municipalities, countries issue bonds. You'll definitely hear of junk bonds as well. Bonds can be, again, risky depending on what type of bond you invest in. Usually bonds are a longer term investment. With a stock, let's go back to Apple. Say Apple's at $150 one day, the next day goes up to $155. You can sell that stock and be out of it. Bonds, you have to wait a longer period of time and then get your principal and investment back. Mutual funds. A mutual fund, think of it as a basket of stocks. Most 401k plans have mutual funds as the options to invest your money with. They'll give you a list of probably at least 10 different mutual funds that you can allocate or put your money into. You can invest 100% into your money into one of the mutual funds. You can invest 25, 25, 25. However you want to allocate that investment, you can put your investments in these mutual funds. Now, there are things called index funds. So an index fund is a fund that tries to map a certain index, tries to copy a certain index. So there are S&P 500 index funds that try to map the performance of the S&P 500. I'm getting really geeky here now, but the S&P 500 is a popular indicator of stock market performance. S&P 500 index fund is a very popular index fund to try to map what's going on in the market. And a lot of people like to use them in their retirement accounts. There can be index funds for anything, and they are so popular now because Warren Buffett talks about them. And it's an easy way, if you don't follow individual stocks, that you can just set it and forget it investing. There are index funds, like I said, that map the S&P 500. There are index funds that are tech index funds, so they just invest in tech stocks. There are index funds for female CEOs. I mean, there are index funds for everything. Anytime you think of a mutual fund or an index fund, just know that there are fees associated with this. Say you're investing in a Vanguard mutual fund. This company, Vanguard, that puts together all these stocks in a basket, because mutual fund is a basket of stocks, they have to keep the lights on, right? So they have to pay for a building, they have to pay for people who make the coffee, they have to pay for the coffee, they have to pay for the printer paper and the printer, and they have to pay for all these administrative costs. So they're administrative fees. Index funds are great because there are administrative fees on it, but usually they are not actively managed funds. An actively managed fund is a fund that has people, investment managers, that are in there and they're mixing and matching the stocks to put in that basket of stocks because they want to beat the performance. They want the performance of their fund to be higher than the performance of the stock market, say the S&P 500. So these people who are in there day to day researching the stocks, figuring out how much they want to put of each stock in the mutual fund, they need paychecks too. So actively managed fund have administrative costs, and usually they have even more fees because they're trying to pay the salaries of the people who are trying to figure out the allocations of stocks in the fund, the fund managers. So another reason people like index funds is usually their fees are lower than actively managed mutual funds. Technically, a money market is an index fund. So a money market, according to Investopedia, a money market fund is a mutual fund that invests solely in cash and cash equivalent securities, which are also called money market instruments. These vehicles are very liquid short-term investments with high credit quality. That is from Investopedia. Money market, I love money markets because it's an investment account. It's an account that gives you usually a better rate than a savings account, and it's liquid. So let's go to CD. With a CD, I will put money in a CD for 12 months or 18 months or 24 months or however long. I cannot take that money back out without paying a penalty and losing interest or whatever the penalties are, but I will pay a penalty if I take that out. When you put money in a CD, you are keeping it in there for the term of the CD, 12 months, 24 months, 36, however long you keep it in there. You are keeping that money in the CD. That is a non-liquid account. Money market accounts, I can put $10 in, and next month I can take $7 out. So money market, it's liquid. I don't have to wait for a sale of something. Bonds, definitely not liquid. So let's talk about a retirement account. Is just an account, but then the money sits there unless you invest that money in something. So usually with retirement accounts, they only give you the option of mutual funds. They don't let you buy stocks within that retirement account through a company. With IRAs, a traditional or a Roth IRA, usually if you open one at a brokerage house, they will let you invest in stocks. And they might have an option of mutual funds in that account as well. So they might give you different options to invest your money within that account. So These are different types of investment for you to check out. Oh, the money market is fantastic for an emergency fund. I highly recommend keeping your emergency fund in a money market account.